Okay, here we have a
right here. Here.
MaggotBox television that was working fine about a week ago, and now it's not. It does jack shit when you press the power button. When you first plug it in, you can kind of see the lights dim a little bit, you know, like it's getting power. And I've gone ahead and removed the back. I haven't removed it, I've just unscrewed it. Because if there's something terribly obvious in there, or something exploded or burnt or whatever the hell, you'll see it for the first time. Here's the information on this set. It was assembled in Mexico, made in January of 1992, and it's a chassis number 13S or 5 or 9 401-00AA. Model number RR1377W101. Let's rip the back off of here. Actually, before I do that, I will warn you not to work on a CRT device if you don't know what you're doing. Any electronic device, but especially something with a CRT in it, because there are several parts that even while these things are turned off can kill you. Okay, they might not kill you, but they'll hurt you pretty bad. If you've got a heart condition or something, they will kill you. But yeah, getting shocked by a CRT is not fun. Okay, apparently this set is made by Philips. I know Philips took over MaggotBox at some point. I don't know what time that was, but there you go. Give you a nice schematic in the back. I'd like to see that on a new TV. And here we have some sort of inspection sticker or something. And then, of course, your warnings. Let's see here. So this appears to be a pretty high-hour set, and the way I'm telling that is if you look around the CRT and around this high voltage wire here, see how there's all this black dust around everything? And on the flyback, that's another one. So this really fine black dust like this, see it all on there? Collects around high voltage things, and if you have a lot of that black dust, this is probably a rather high hour set, and I know this one is because the CRT is slightly, well, it's not weak, it just takes a while to get warmed up, so yeah, it's getting weak. So what do we already know? We know the set's getting power, we know this fuse is good, although I will look at it anyway. But the first thing we want to do is discharge the CRT. So you can connect anywhere. I like to connect on this metal strap around here because that's connected directly to ground. This is not a tutorial. Don't do anything that I'm doing here. We need something to discharge it with. A screwdriver will work. Don't do this. I'm taking the screwdriver, but you shouldn't, and I'm putting it around this metal strap. Once again, don't do this. One hand behind our back. I doubt it's going to have anything in it. It hasn't been on for a week, but I mean, it'll have... Okay, yeah, the CRT didn't have any voltage stored in it. I'm going to pop the anode cap off. And I like to normally just let that rest there for a while. And now I'm just going to inspect this board So, it's most likely... Can you even see this? Yes. Okay, so if we look at the components on here... This thing's really dusty. It's most likely not something back up in this area. This is our tuner and our all of our electronics, video, stuff like that. We're not getting power, so it's going to be on this side. And I see a problem. I don't know if I see the problem. I see what might have caused the problem. There's a, and it's kind of strange, I don't really see this much on CRTs. There's a capacitor back here that is bloated, might even be leaking, I can't really tell. And it appears that it has some sort of black residue on the bottom, like maybe it burnt or something. It arced. I don't know if the cap shorted and burnt something else out, because I've heard that's pretty common on these. But I can certainly try replacing that cap. That would be the easiest thing to do first. And we can see where that goes. I think that's what we will do. Is try replacing that cap. Hopefully I have one that's the same size. It's rather large looking. I'll show you in just a second. For such an expensive tripod, it doesn't have a quick release. That's a complaint. Okay. See that capacitor there? If you look, it's kind of pushed itself up off the board. It's supposed to be sitting flat, so it's bulged mostly at the bottom, but there is a bit of a bulge at the top as well. And I don't know if that capacitor itself would specifically cause this set not to turn on. But it certainly might be causing something else that caused this set not to turn on. I'm hoping it didn't, but it could have damaged something. I forget what it is. A transistor or something in these likes to blow up when those capacitors start failing. It wasn't showing any signs though. So I'm going to work on removing this board. Is this elevator music aggravating anyone else? It's kind of annoying. Okay, so the board... Let's see, we need to unplug this connector here for the degaussing coil. If I can get it off there. I'll be dipped. There we go. Okay. The board looks like it should just, okay, the speaker wire, we got a bunch of cables here, but the board should just slide out. Is what's appearing that should happen, but it's not happening. So is there a screw or a clip? Okay, there are two clips here and here that I gotta push. Then the board should slide out. But I don't know how I'm expected to push these clips and pull it out at the same time. It kind of requires two hands. Okay, I'm just gonna have to, there we go, kind of walk it out. There we go. I'm gonna still be careful not to touch the bottom of this board because we discharged the CRT, but there still could be some charged caps. We got a speaker cable. We've got two cables for our deflection coil. If I were smart, I would take a picture of where all these connect. Okay, we got a connector here that goes to ground. We've got a connector here that goes to there. Okay, this is one of the ones for the deflection coil, or the yoke, or whatever you want to call it. So this, okay, this unplugs from this side. What about this? Okay, that unplugs from this side. Nope, that doesn't unplug at all. Am I gonna have to take this neck board off? I am. Damn you! Okay. Are we disconnected? I believe we are. Okay, so I'm gonna set this out of the way. And by out of the way, I mean somewhere where I'll trip over it and break the CRT. Now this has quite a few higher voltage caps on the bottom. Geez, this thing's got a lot of black sooty dust on it. We're definitely going to clean that off, because that stuff can get conductive. This big capacitor here is the one that I mainly want to try to see if it still has any charge left in it. Where'd it go? Where is it? Because that capacitor looks like it would bite right here. Okay, no. So it would appear all the bleeder resistors are doing their job. Bleeding down capacitors. So now that I got this out of here, I can kind of look at it a bit better. And see, sometimes things are not going to be obvious. It's obvious this capacitor is bad, we don't even need to test it. But what isn't obvious is if it damaged something like a transistor. This is a 100 microfarad at 200 volts, which is an interesting size cap. So I'm going to get out my jar of caps and look and see if I have one. 100 microfarad at 200 volts. Interesting. Okay, so I removed the cap, and here it is. Interestingly enough, it was not soldered from the factory on one side. You can see it's... Will you focus on this? It's bloated at the top. If I didn't mention, yeah, that dust will make your hands black. But the bottom's even worse. It's punched out. But the good news is I measured it with my capacitor meter thing. It didn't test anything, so I measured it with the multimeter, and it's open. So it didn't short, which is good. Now I looked and I don't have another. It's a 100 microfarad at 200 volts, I believe. 100 microfarad, 200 volts. I don't have another one. So I went to my stack of stuff that I have sitting around that doesn't work for parts. I got this DVD player, old DVD player. Remember when DVD players had a bunch of boards in them like this, and a separate DVD thing, instead of just one little small board? This is the days. Unfortunately, the laser's dead in this one, so it doesn't work. Not that I play DVDs anyway. First thing I do is open it up and look at the caps. Right there in plain view. 100 microfarad, 200 volt. So we're going to remove that. We're going to put it in the TV. Maybe with any luck, it'll work. Okay, so I got the new capacitor here. Here we go again. 100 microfarad, 200 volts. I'm not sure what brand it is. It doesn't say, which is a bit concerning. The old one, surprisingly, is a Nichicon, and I generally don't see Nichicons fail too much, but it definitely has. It's open. So this one and this one are the same rating, obviously, 100 microfarad, 200 volt. I would have liked to have gone up to 250 or something, seeing as how this one failed and the old one was a good brand cap. Now what I want to do also is just kind of brush some of this dust out of here. I'm not too concerned about getting it all out, but just, you know, the loose stuff. As much for just handling it as anything, but... I mean, look at that. These are supposed to be white, these resistors, if you can even see them. Yeah, you can see them. So we're going to go ahead and put in the new cap. The board is labeled. Let's see where to go. Right there. The hot and, well, not hot and neutral, but the positive and negative. This is DC. I believe this is DC. This capacitor is physically a bit smaller. I know you probably can't see jack shit here, and that's, well, I know it's not fine, but right now I'm more concerned about getting this in here. And if none of this footage is usable, then I will take it out. Okay, so I got the capacitor installed. What I always like to do is when I get a component installed like this, I'll take the leads and bend them over slightly so it'll hold itself in while I'm soldering it. And if you're soldering, you want to do yourself a favor and don't use lead-free solder. Don't get one of these soldering irons either that just plugs straight in. You want a soldering station. For the little amount I do, this is fine, although I do plan on getting a better one. See how lead-free solder just turned? Doesn't stay shiny. It doesn't look good. It doesn't work good. The real leaded stuff is a lot better. Anyway, I'm going to go over this and look for any more bad solder joints, because that capacitor, the old one, was not soldered from the factory correctly. So I'm just going to go over and look for any cracked, broken, or non-existent solder joints before I put it back together, just as kind of a preventative thing. That would be my meter, just beeping. And I tested the new cap, and it's measuring 104 as far as microfarads go. Now, a multimeter like this will not test a capacitor under load, obviously, and some of them do break down under load. However, the DVD player was turning on, and the old capacitor was obviously completely dead. So a multimeter, it won't tell you 100%, but it'll give you a good idea. Hey, this capacitor is completely dead, or this capacitor is okay. So I'm gonna, like I said, touch that up, and I'll put the board back in the TV and plug the cables back in. You don't need to see that, but I will come back before we try powering it on to see if it crashes, burns, explodes, or if we're lucky, maybe even turns on. Okay, it's back together. I've not turned it on or even plugged it in yet. So let's see if it crashes, burns, explodes, or turns on. Try to do this without getting in the view of the camera too much. Okay, it's receiving power. Made a noise, but it's still not turning on. Shit. I figured this might happen. I think that capacitor damaged something else. Okay. Okay. So what normally happens with these sets is the horizontal output transistor transistor will get shorted after the cap blows, and it'll blow a little pico fuse. I tested the horizontal output transistor. I pulled it out of circuit. It is not shorted. However, the little pico fuse was blown. At this point, I don't expect this to work. It'd be cool if it would, but I don't think it's going to again. I've gone ahead and placed a wire across the fuse. Never do that. And I'm just going to see if it blows up. Okay, it hasn't yet. Seriously, still nothing? Well, I was hoping you'd at least do something. At least blow up. But I still got nothing. Even with the Pico fuse just bypassed in there. Come on, do something. I don't care if you blow up or what, but I want you to do something. Alright. It's drawing current. But it's still completely dead. Nothing's burning, nothing's on fire. Well, that's not cool. Okay, so that is the end of the line for this little MaggotBox TV. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, if you're going to fix a TV, if you're working on anything, if a fuse is blown, it is likely blown for a reason. Fuses don't just blow on their own. They do, but normally not. Never bypass a fuse. Try to figure out what's wrong. Now, Radio TV Phono Nut, he works on a lot of TVs and radios and phonographs and other stuff. He had a MaggotBox TV, I think it was a 25-inch, but it was from about the same time period, that had that same capacitor blown up and the same Pico fuse blown up. And I think it was 3 or 4 transistors were shorted. One of them was the output transistor, which was not shorted in my case. But I do believe that most of those, there were probably some shorted transistors. I could probably source the transistors, you know, if I figure out, pull them all out of the TV, figure out which one's shorted and all that. But it's a little 13-inch TV. If it were a nice big 25-inch, I might be more inclined to do so. But the TV can join all these other fallen soldiers hanging from the trees. This one fell down, and this one hasn't gone up yet. Oh, and there was another one here that fell down. But anyway, those need to go back up, and when I put those back up, I'll put that MaggotBox up. Because honestly, I can pick up a TV like that, any electronics recycling center for free, just about any given day. You look on Craigslist, they're for free every day. So if I could have fixed it easily with parts I already had, why not? But at this point, there's no reason to fix that because I can pick up another one for free. Let me demonstrate something here. Here's a few computer monitors. These are all TVs underneath this sheet here. These are all TVs. They go all the way back. Some of them, I do have a couple of LCD televisions, but you can see them under here, over here. They're all under there. They go all the way back. And this is not even all of them. There's some more in the house. There are some more in there. And there's some more in there. I probably have around 30. Hey, there's a kitty. He took off quickly. Anyway, I probably have around 30 or some. There's probably 20 just in this shed here. So, the time it would take to fix that, to take out those transistors and test them, and the time it would, or the ordering the parts, although they probably wouldn't be very expensive, it's just not worth it. So, that's the end of the line for this TV. I wish I would have known that capacitor was going bad, because if I had replaced it before it went completely out, then I would have been able to fix it easily. Radio TV Phono Nuts said that these, normally, the picture loses sync when that capacitor starts going, but this TV had no such signs of failure. It was working perfectly fine until it just didn't quit turning on. Anyway, that's the end of the line for, what was this, a 1992 think it was a 92 or 93 MaggotBox TV. I also went ahead and pulled all the rest of the caps off the board of that DVD player, so I have those for other projects. Well, although it wasn't successful, and there was no smoke unfortunately, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching.